Hello and welcome to Crucible of Worlds for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Nether Pox courtesy of a donation deck list. So this is a bit of an interesting one. I've only changed a couple of tiny little tweaks here and there from the list I was sent. But we're what I would like to describe as Nether Pox, because we are running a Nether Void and of course a cheeky little Nether Spirit. So what is Pox? Pox is a strategy that uses Smallpox and things like Wastelands and Hymn to Tourach to completely stifle your opponent's development so they can't really get into the game and you just grind them out. We also have like looping Crucible of Worlds, Wasteland, as well as a singleton Ghost Portal that can get rid of every last land in their deck. So we do have like a permanent lock here if we can assemble these two cards and have enough time to do it. We got a lot of hand disruption between our Hymn to Tourach and our Thoughtseizes, and we can accelerate some stuff out using our Dark Ritual. In order to actually win the game is kind of the tricky thing here. We've got lots of ways of interacting with our opponent in terms of destroying their, like, we got Sinkhole in this one as well, so we're destroying lands, destroying their hand, picking apart their hand. Liliana, this also does a lot of work on an opponent's hands, keeps the boards clean as well, it's very useful. And we have a few other little ones here. So we've got this Liliana, which can keep the board clean, it can mill us to try and find our nether traits. That's not really what we're going to want to do for the most part. We're just going to be plussing this to keep the board clear and then just using the emblem to make a winning team of zombies. So this is like a 3-mana win condition, Liliana, really. Whereas this one can't actually win you the game. It can bury your opponent but can't technically win you the game. We've got the one of Nether Spirit, which can attack for 2 and do some damage. We have Liliana, Waker of the Dead. Waker of the Dead. This one makes people discard cards. If they can't, they lose 3 life. So this is a potential win condition. However, our opponent can just keep one card in their hand all the time, but then they're never really getting anywhere. So should do some work. And the emblem is at the beginning of combat on your turn, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control against haste. Now that's going to be mainly doing our opponent's creatures, since we have 1 creature card in our entire deck. The minus is okay here, but not incredible. So this is an interesting sort of fun of that was sent in the original list, and I wanted to give it a try because I've never played with this card before. Then we have 2 Karns and a little moderate Karn package. So this is mainly to hose on opposing artifacts, which is something we can't really interact with very easily. So that's more there for a hosing thing, but we might as well have these in as some ways of winning the game. So we've got a pretty big toolbox for Karn that we'll talk about in a minute. If you're unfamiliar with Nether Void, I'll show this one to you now. Whenever a player casts a spell, counter it unless that player pays 3. So the idea is that we set this up in a way that our opponent doesn't really get to play Magic anymore after we've sort of hit away all their lands, you know, a few Crucibles here and there, and we should just be able to lock them out of the game a little bit. Other win conditions involve Cursed Scroll. It's a slow one, but it does get there. We also have a currency converter, which can make us some creatures, as well as ditching some of our cards that are less good. The problem with Pox sometimes is that you end up with some subpar draws. This hopefully lets us filter those through a little bit. And we have one Urza Saga, which we can recur with Crucible of Worlds, along with our Silent Clearing. We can also recur with Crucible of Worlds. We also have another fun of, or a couple of fun of. So we have this Castle Locthwain, which is pretty standard for these decks. It's just a way of getting some more cards later on when you've sort of got the board under wraps. You need to actually progress and win the game. So that's what this is for. But the really interesting one here is Throne of the High City, which is one I hadn't seen before today. So this is a colourless land, but you can pay 4 and sacrifice it to become the Monarch. So that's a potential win condition, and also Monarch stuff is pretty good against what we're trying to do. So this is another way of getting that going, and sort of stealing the Monarch after you kill their creatures. We also got some Edicts, a couple of Suddens, and 1 Sheoldreds. They're kind of similar. I think Sudden Edict is generally better, but there are situations where you would want the Sheoldred's Edict, so we're going to have a 2-1 split. That's pretty much it for the main deck. Cyber-wise, let's talk about this card package. So Mycosynth's Lattice to lock our opponent out of the game. A couple of ensnaring bridges so that we can stop our opponents from attacking us. A Stone Brain for combo decks. A Crucible because we do want access to our Crucibles. We kind of have 3 in the main deck effectively. Sorcerer's Spyglass is just a Pithing Needle with a bit more upside on it. Liquid Metal Coating, which is the sort of mini lattice where you get this and start blowing up their lands using Karn. A Curse Scroll, if we do need a win condition from our Karn, we can get this one. I'm not sure how often this is going to come up, and maybe this should just be another ley line, but we'll see. Another Currency Converter, again, I think this should be the 4th ley line, but we're running with these for now, because it was as submitted. And we're going to give it a go and see if we do want to find them. If we don't test this, we'll never know. We got a damping sphere as well, which is good for storm decks as well as potentially hitting some of these like cloud posty decks if you find them. We got Tormod's Crypt. This one's good because you can play Karn minus it and then play your Tormod's Crypt. So this is the best artifact hate to have in that situation. And then we got some stuff that isn't in the card package. We've got 2 Lane on the Voids. I think it should be 4 with these 2 cards being ley lines. But we'll see how we go here. Yeah, just useful graveyard hate to have. We have 1 Damnation. Against creature matchups, we might as well bring this in. Seems to make sense to me, just having another button to press to get rid of some guys. And we have an Abyss, which is another kill creatures button. So when the Nether Void is bad, the Abyss is probably going to be good and vice versa. But Nether Void is probably going to be useful a lot more often than the Abyss. So we might end up with both of them in some games. Alright, so that's the deck. One of my slight concerns with this deck that could potentially come back to bite us is land destruction strands loads of cards in your opponent's hand. That's generally what land destruction does. Your opponent can't develop as quickly, so they're going to end up with more cards in their hand as they can't deploy them, which kind of reduces the impact of things like Hymn to Tourach and Thoughtseize, because your opponent is going to have more cards, so you're not really going to want to do that. But obviously, if you do like an early Hymn and maybe take out a land and then you Sinkhole them afterwards, you're doing great. So they are interesting cards. Sinkhole is not especially a powerful Magic the Gathering card, but in our strategy we're going to give it a go, and I think we have a strategy that makes use of it more than most Sinkhole decks can. Alright, that's the deck, so let's jump into a league. Like, comment, subscribe, do these things, they don't cost you anything and they really help me out, or just get in touch and I can do a donation deck for you as well. There's a link to my Discord below, that's how you can get hold of me. Alright, let's play some Legacy with Nether Sinkhole Pox. Alright, if our opponent's a combo deck, we're certainly going to strip cards out of their hand, so we'll keep this one. We've got Thoughtseize, into Hymn to Tourach, into Hymn to Tourach. If we draw another land, we can do Hymn to Tourach and Thoughtseize again. So we've got a lot of ways of messing with our opponent's opening hand. We'll lead out on the Snow-Covered Swamp. And just a good old-fashioned Thoughtseize. What do we have here? Archon of Cruelty, Grief, Reanimate, Unmarked Grave. Okay. So I think we're supposed to take the Reanimate here, in case they find a way of binning off one of their cards. Interesting. I'm already wishing we had those extra 2 copies of Leyline, but we'll see how this pans out. Alright, Grief pitching the Archon of Cruelty. What would you like? They might take the Smallpox here, but honestly, I think we're probably alright, whatever they take. They can't smash their way through this Hymn. If they've got a creature, they might just try and get lucky and let us discard like the big scary creature, which is some of the problem with Hymn to Tourach here. I think it's worth doing. I took the Smallpox. That's fair enough. See what they drew. There's a basic swamp. They're going to reanimate. So they drew a reanimate for turn, and they're going to reanimate the Grief. And we're going to lose probably a Hymn to Tourach here, and then our Hymn to Tourach will clean up their hand, and then we just need to find an answer for this Grief. There's an answer for the Grief. Just need another land for it. Let's get rid of the last cards in their hand, giving them the Pox experience. Agadeem. So we can take 3 from this. If we can find a land, that'd be great. There's a land. 1, 2, 3. Get rid of your guy. And then we can just keep plushing the Liliana. Now that has some mixed uses, right? Because if we discard one of our opponent's big guys, then they're live for drawing a reanimation spell. Right. These Thoughtseizers is not really the one. Alright, I guess we will... which of these would I rather have? Probably just keep the Hymn here. Right, so pitched a Grief into their bin. Now at least we have saved up for an Edict off of our Liliana. The situation doesn't really favour us just yet. Right, so they're going to Thoughtseize us and take this Hymn, that's fine. Doesn't really make a difference here. Just going to keep plussing while we can. We're looking for a way of winning the game. Agadeem. Sure. That is an unusual card to see in these reanimated decks. A Wasteland. Okay, let's say... The problem with playing this Wasteland out now is if we draw a Karn, we want to be able to cast it. So I don't think we actually crack this Wasteland now. I don't think 4 mana. Like, it does give them grief, but we have an answer to grief on board anyway. I'd rather just be live to draw a Karn and just shut this game down as soon as possible. Yep, so there's grief, that's fine. We already have an answer to it. We're not trying to ultimate this, really. Not yet, anyway. Okay, so we draw a swamp. Oh, wrong one. I didn't mean to do each player discards a card, but that's fine. Let's get rid of the scrubland. So the grief's going to attack our Liliana this turn. We should have just -2 the Liliana and killed their grief here. That was an error. So we draw here. A sinkhole. You can lose your thing, and we will sinkhole away their basic swamp. This means that our wastelands are live draws to blow up the Agadeens. We also have 4 mana, so we can find a Nether Void. We might be able to just say no to our opponent from here on out. A small pox. Would I like to lose a land in this situation? Is me having a land or our opponent having a land a better shout here? This is interesting. We cast a Smallpox right now just to blow up one of our opponent's lands. We'll get rid of our Urborg. If they got rid of a Grizzlebrand, that's kind of worrying for us. Because that means if they top deck a reanimation spell, they're just writing it. Which is kind of one of my problems with the situation we've been in. Alright. They're running the Unmarked Grave as well, so you've got a different spread of reanimation. Unmarked Grave doesn't get back the Grizzlebrand. Animate Dead, though. That does. Okay, so they can draw 7 cards here. But we can Liliana away the Grizzlebrand. However, what do we do after that is the problem. Right, they got themselves a swamp. Doing a Dark Ritual. Entomb. We're going to see an Archon of Cruelty here. Yep. Is this Unmarked Grave? It's weird to be playing Unmarked Grave in a deck that wants to bring back Grizzlebrand, to be honest. There's an Exhume. We don't have any creatures in our bin. We take a hit from this. We only get to kill one of their guys next turn, which will probably be the Grizzlebrand, I imagine. Sacrifice a creature or Planeswalker. Oh, okay. This has never come up for me before. Okay, we're just dead here, right? We had loads of turns, but we couldn't really do anything here. A little bit late there, unfortunately. A turn earlier, that would have been alright. Yeah. I kind of went as expected, to be honest. We can strip their hand, but we don't kill them in any way resembling a quickly. So we just kind of fizzle out and get done there. So we want 2 lane on the Void. I would like more things like this, but we don't have that as an option. Would have liked the 2 more ley lines here. So these are going to be useful. I don't think we need this. We've got edicts and things. So we're bringing in 3 cards. What is going to be useful here? And what is going to be bad? Curse Scroll is quite a slow way of trying to win the game. But all of our things are quite a slow way of trying to win the game, right? So we didn't really... where's this Liliana, the last type? That's not doing anything here. No, it is a win condition, but it's not a great one, I don't think. We're not going to get any creatures with it. Do you want the Smallpox? I think we do want the Smallpox. We just want to tax our opponent's mana sources. Currency Converter is probably better than Curse Scroll here, I would say. And then where do we go? I like the Liliana Wake of the Dead, maybe? Oh, look. Are we? I don't think we're realistically getting to the emblem there, are we? Let's just cut one of those. Actually, it's the emblem that is good with creatures. I thought it was a minus. Alright. We'll try like this. Our hand doesn't really do anything. Like, Ensnaring Bridge is okay. I think we need to mulligan here. Alright, we can keep this one. Because we mess with our opponent's hand in a big way. I don't think we're going to need all of these swamps, so let's put one of them back. So we're going to Dark Ritual. And we Thoughtseize first, and then we him. So what do we have here? Grief, Fatal Push, Dark Ritual. Which of these is actually scary to me? Not really anything. Fatal Push isn't going to do anything here. The Grief is not an issue, really. I think we'll take the Dark Ritual here. And then we'll hymn them to see what the other cards pop out their hand. It's the Fatal Push and the Lotus Spell. Because they want to 2-for-1 themselves to grief us at some point. Our hand doesn't really do anything, so I don't really mind about that one. This is part of the problem with Pox, where we kind of throw our stuff out, mess with their hand, but then we kind of are fumbling around in the dark for a win condition. Alright, so the grief is going underneath this. I imagine our opponent is on some sort of like Doubthy Voidwalker-y type plan. A Smallpox when our opponent... We can't really cast this Smallpox. We can't put ourselves to 1 land. That's not going to be a way of winning this game. Because our opponent does have 3 mana available from the Ancient Tomb we know about. And the Chrome Mox. Passageway Seer. Sure. So now we kind of have to Smallpox. But we're so far behind if we Smallpox. Yeah, we just have to take the hits and then hope that we can ensnare and bridge our way out of this. Now, they can go through Undercity a few times. That's going to be bad. Okay, they're going for the Scry route. That's not terrible for us if we can get this ensnaring bridge down. I think we have lost this game though, but it's still possible for us to get back in. But we're just going to get buried by the Undercity here. Land? We did find land. Alright, so we can't be attacked by the Passageway Seer. That's something. And if they have some sort of Serenity effect, it will kill their own Chrome Mox. Not that they really care because they've already got so much value out of the Undercity that that's not an issue for them. Smallpox is very good for emptying your hand, but it makes it harder to empty your hand later on because you lose some of your lands to cast some of your spells. You're more likely to have things stranded. Alright. A Sinkhole. We didn't come here to not cast Sinkhole, right? So let's just slowly say no to these things. So we need to find a way of taking back the initiative. So that quirky little land we've got would be good. Is this a May? No. Okay, this isn't a May, so this might not get them a thing that can attack here. But we'll see. What are they revealing off their 10 cards? An Archon of Cruelty. Sure, it's a big boy. We'll discard one of our Smallpoxes. We don't really want to cast those. Keys our hand. Kind of empty. Our opponent might struggle to attack through Ensnaring Bridge, but they can just loot through the Undercity a few times and dome us for 5. And maybe find some more Archon of Cruelties. Right, so we've got a Swamp. I think we're not casting the Smallpox because we're looking to try and play a Karn game here. We can like Karn and then Lattice lock them out of the game. That might be enough. Alright, let's see what our opponent's up to. Probably not a lot given we have this Ensnaring Bridge. Right, over to us. A Liliana of the Veil. Okay. We're just going to get rid of our cards here. This combined with Ensnaring Bridge is pretty good. However, they can just hard cast some Archon of Cruelties and then eventually trap us. So they're going to need either 2 traps and an Archon or 2 Archons and a trap to kill us. That's exactly 11 with the double Archon. What do we got here? Karn the Great Creator. Okay, this is a card that certainly does stuff. We don't really want to put the card into our hand right now, I don't think. So I think we're just going to get rid of this Chrome Mox. And then we're going to plus. We've shut them off of being able to hard cast an Archon of Cruelty here. But they are rattling through that there Undercity, aren't they? Yep. So if we activate our Silent Clearing twice, then a single Archon of Cruelty will get us. We got here a Sudden Edict. So let's have a look at our sideboard. We got anything that actually helps us out here? Not particularly. We can't. Nothing here takes the initiative back, which is an issue. And the Abyss isn't something we can fetch anyway. Are we just getting currency converter? That seems pretty mediocre. Maybe we're getting the. Maybe we get rid of one of their guys. Just to make sure our hand is as empty as possible. Let's take the liquid metal coating. We'll cast a liquid metal coating. Pass. And our opponent's upkeep. We will turn off one of their swamps. So we've got a few turns before they loop all the way through again. So it might prove challenging here. Reanimate on the Archon. Sacrifice a creature or a planeswalker. I guess we have to sacrifice the Liliana of the Veil here. This also puts us to 1. Not great for us, truth be told. But 5 and 1 is kind of similar in terms of Undercity. It's just a second Archon can kill us now. Collective Brutality. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, that matchup felt pretty miserable for us, to be honest. I would like if we'd have had more ley lines, then we wouldn't have got hit by that Archon of Cruelty at the end there. But yeah, we can strip the hand away, but because we don't do anything with that, because we're quite a slow deck, it means eventually our opponent will get somewhere, and Liliana is like a ticking time bomb because it's going to discard one of their threats at some point, which just gives them loads of live draws. So I do think we need 4 ley lines for this sort of matchup. But this is always going to be a tough one because the initiative is very, very strong against Pox as well. So it's quite a powerful duke. Even if we did have the ley lines here, we'd probably still lose it just because they're going to go through Undercity a bunch of times. All right, let's go to round 2. Our opening hand has no mana for round 2, so we're going to throw it back. Okay, if the Undercity is going to be good here, it's going to be good, right? I think we'll keep this. And I think we're probably getting rid of this Dark Ritual. We only have 1 black source, which could be an issue. But our deck is full of black mana, and we're on the draw, so we've got another turn to find it as well. So they've got an island up, so they could brainstorm in response to our Thoughtseize. I imagine our opponent's somewhere on the sort of slow control deck. Here comes a brainstorm. There it is. But they could easily be something like a Sneak and Show that just happened to draw a basic island to begin with. I'm hoping we get some more information when this resolves. Preordain. Not a fan of that one. So they can show and tell next turn, but they can't put anything in. Interesting. They could sneak attack off the top, which taking the Lotus Petal would stop. Interesting. I think it's the Lotus Petal so we don't die next turn. Because they put sneak attack in, we can't really do much about that. We can take out their Volcanic Island, but at some point they're going to find a red source and we're going to lose the game. There's the Preordain we know about. I think it was either Preordain or the Lotus Petal. I'm not too bothered by the Force of Will. We've got such discard spells and things at our disposal. So I drew the thing they wanted off of the... let's Wasteland up first. So our opponent drew the thing they wanted off of the Preordain because they put 1 and 1. So whatever that 1 card is, we should hopefully get to see it here. Right, so we'll take the Show and Tell here. Then we will... Are we looking at stripping the red mana out from underneath them? I think so. If we can find a black source, we can Sinkhole them and take them off of their Ancient Tomb as well. Snow-covered swamp. Would I rather Sinkhole my opponent or rather Sinkhole or Thoughtseize here? I think we're supposed to Thoughtseize here because if our opponent draws... we'll take the Archon of Cruelty here. So 3 cards in hand. So, the reason we're doing that is because if our opponent draws a Show and Tell, they can just put in the Archon of Cruelty next turn, and that's going to be pretty bad news for us. Interesting they're keeping the Lotus Petal. I imagine they're doing that for brainstorm reasons. Sinkhole. Alright, let's just get rid of this Ancient Tomb. This takes our opponent off of Sneak Attack mana. Hull Breacher, sure. So our plan is going to involve Smallpoxing this away at some point. Another Ancient Tomb. This means they can play Sneak Attack next turn if they have it. Thoughtseize isn't really what we're looking for right now. I think we are Smallpoxing the Ancient Tomb again. Keep off of Sneak Attack mana. Could have hit 2 of their blue sources, but I think we're fine doing. Question is, do we Smallpox or do we Thoughtseize to make sure we can Smallpox? Wasteland is an interesting one, isn't it? So, do we want to Thoughtseize and make sure that our Smallpox resolves next turn? That will put us quite low is the only issue. I think we're supposed to do this. Right, it's resolved and we're choosing cards now. Which land are we getting rid of is the question. Do you want to get rid of a Wasteland? Or do you want to keep this throne? I think I want to get rid of the throne here. That's a little sad, but I think we're on the mana denial strategy, so we need to stay on that strategy. You know they've got a bit of fast mana in hand. A Ponder, sure. So if we have targeted their blue mana early on, we might have been able to cut them off of blue. But most of the mana sources in their deck are blue. So I think getting rid of their ability to deploy the thing that actually kills us was still the right call. There's the Lotus Petal we know about. Currency Converter. I don't hate this one. This gives us a win condition. I think we will activate the Currency Converter in our opponent's turn. Brainstorm's a pretty strong one. activating the currency converter gives us something underneath it, so we can either make a 2/2 or a treasure. And a treasure might be useful if we draw something like a Karn, which will also shut off this Lotus Petal quite nicely. Yep, so now we've got a treasure. A Wasteland. I don't think we need another Wasteland, do we? I think we're on drawing this card here. We're leaving off a black source. We'll get rid of this Wasteland. We'll put it under the converter. Yes, there's no point leaving up the Wasteland there because our opponent will only play a land if they're immediately using the mana, so the Wasteland won't actually have an impact. Whereas if we'd have drawn a black spell like a Thoughtseize, we would have been able to cast it. Actually, we played all 4 Thoughtseize. Fair enough, actually. So if we can untap and sinkhole our opponent's island, that would be pretty good. If they don't have a land here, it means they don't have one next turn either because they did cast a Brainstorm on the previous turn. A Cursed Scroll. Let's jam ourselves a Sinkhole. Force of Will, pitching, Vesuvian Drifter. Sure. Again, the same things that were true last time with our Wasteland are true this turn. So here comes our Curse Scroll. Like, our opponent could make a mistake by playing it and then going to their second main phase or something, but I'm not going to insult my opponent's intelligence by thinking they're going to make that mistake. Let's make a treasure. Let's just keep being a miserable person and sinkholing them. And next turn we can start in at the old currency, Cursed Scroll. So our opponent's drawing a fresh card that they don't know this turn. So they've got through their Brainstorm cards now. City of Traitors. This is going to be a sneak attack, maybe? A sneak attack, sure. I think we will lose to this card. We might as well do this on a turn, get maximum information first. It's got 1 card in hand. Is it more important for us to Curse Scroll or to currency convert here? This doesn't make a huge amount of difference right now. I think we will currency convert first. Smallpox takes the card out of their hand, but it's not that exciting, is it? We'll pitch this. And we will take out this City of Traitors. So our opponent is looking for a creature and a red card. Sorry, a red mana. We can't really interact with sneak attack here. Is the one thing they've got in hand a creature? If it is, it punishes us for not smallpoxing last turn. How bad is it? All of them kill us, so... Yep. So, again, it's one of those things where we can keep stripping them of cards, and doing stuff, but eventually they're just going to sort of get out of it because we're not really pressuring them. Right, sideboard-wise, let's have a look. Do any of these cards do anything? I wouldn't mind having an Ensnaring Bridge. I don't think we need Liliana the Last Hope. And that's about all we're working with here, I think. Do we want any of these Karn packages in our main deck, is the question. Like, Sorcerer's Spyglass is pretty good as a main deck card. Wouldn't mind one of those. I think this 4-mana Lily is going to get there. I think that's probably about it. Like, even something like Nether Void wouldn't have made a difference in that matchup towards the back end there because our opponent had the mana to make their thing. So again, we've got disruption and things. We just need to actually be able to win the game. Now, Currency Converter is probably going to have to be quite aggressive with making us a creature here, just so we can actually make some sort of attempt at winning the game. Our opponent kept 7. Snake of a Swamp. This is our opponent. I guess we're taking the Show and Tell. It's Volcanic. We're probably going to see a Preordain or Ponder. A Ponder, sure. Let's see what they do with this. They did not shuffle, which means the best card is probably the next card in their library, because they would keep that out of their hand. Let's see what we find here. A Dark Ritual. What does that allow us to do? So I could play Currency Converter now and activate it. Or I could him to Tourach. Tricky decision. If we do a Currency Converter, we can get a Sudden Edict. But Sudden Edict is one of our ways of killing things. I think we're just going to him. No, they do have good cards in their hands, so I don't mind hitting these. So we've got City of Traitors and a Lotus Petal out of our opponent's hand. So the best card our opponent has from their Ponder is probably the one they're about to draw, so they keep it away from us being able to discard it. A Scalding Tarn. To be fair, that might have been it. That might have been the thing they wanted to keep most. Right, preordain. Bit of a nombo with a fetch because you put the stuff you don't want on the bottom and then you shuffle away. So this is a weird one where you want to shuffle before you cast it. 2 top, 0 bottom. Interesting. So this turn, I think we are casting Dark Ritual into Liliana. This way we can hold up the Sudden Edict, which can beat a sneak attack in creature. Honestly, I don't mind if they counterspell this, because we're in a situation where we're probably not even plussing it if it resolves it. I think we've got to keep the cards in hand here, which is awkward. There's the Brainstorm, sure. We kind of need to keep up Sudden Edict all the time, really. But if we can find something that we don't really need, then we can play the Currency Converter, discard that with a Liliana, and then start making like a token to start actually winning the game. Right, so they finished their Brainstorm, they're cracking their fetch to get rid of the cards I didn't want, and then we're getting a Ponder as well. There's a Lotus Petal, and it's over to us. Sudden Edict, you say? I think we will play out this Currency Converter. Then we will plus Liliana, we'll get rid of one of our Sudden Edicts, put it under the Currency Converter, and give ourselves an actual win condition now. So still got Sudden Edict up for a creature that comes into play. And we have a 2/2 rogue that we can throw out if we need to. Start beating down. 4 mana, a sneak attack, sure. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. Which one is it? Archon of Cruelty. Let's say no to this. We will... Would I rather have a rogue or a Liliana? Probably a Liliana, I think, here. Each player discards a card. They had another sneak attack in hand. So this is the thing we can do now. We've already played a Lamb for the turn. So there's no reason to do it right now. We'll do it on our opponent's turn. Again, we're in a situation where we kind of need to find... Okay, this is a good thing to throw into the converter and make a rogue with. A Wasteland. Then we can get rid of this volcanic island. And plus this, get rid of our Thoughtseize, put it under the converter, make a 2/2. And we haven't played a land yet, so I will draw. Oh no, we have played a land, haven't we? We played the Wasteland. We need to draw from that yet. Let's pass a turn and make a rogue. Any creature our opponent finds while they got this Lotus Petal is going to kill us. Uh-oh. How bad is this going to be, one would wonder. A Grizzlebrand. Sure. Any red source and a creature kills us here. There's a red source. Which creature is going to be an Emrakul? There's an Emrakul. So again, the same thing happened this game as it happened the last game. We controlled our opponent and stopped what they were doing. But then we don't go anywhere. We don't really have a way of closing the game, so we just kind of get beat down. Given enough time, your opponents, like our opponent has there, they will assemble something that kills us. And we don't really have a way of combating that. So I'm kind of seeing one of the big flaws in the deck here. If you were to play like a Life from the Loam build, at least you could just keep loaming and then maybe also get some cool stuff. I've played a version of this before with Worm Harvest and Life from the Loam. So you have your Life from the Loam engine, and once that's up and running, you can find win conditions that actually end the game relatively quickly. Bloodghast is another thing I'm quite a fan of. But yeah, 0-2. Let's see if we can pick this up in the 3rd round. We're on the play for round 3. We have an awkward hand here because we don't have black. Tricky. Oh, we're playing against Lightwalker as well. I think we'll mulligan this. Alright, this one's a bit better. Keep this. I think it's the Nether Void that goes back here. We just need so much mana to cast our spells, really. So, our opponent has the Grindstone Painted Servant combo rolled up. Not ideal for us, truth be told. I guess we're taking the Painted Servant because that also turns on the Pyroblast. So let's see what our opponent does here. They might do Urza Saga plus Grindstone, but I imagine we're looking more like Mountain here. Yeah. So Mountain into Grindstone. Which of our black spells do we want to cast? I think it's the Hymn here. What do we get? A Pyroblast and a Fable. Okay. It's not bad. Problem is, the Smallpox kind of hurts us quite a bit as well because we need mana sources to operate. Right, let's see what we can do here. So they've got an Urza Saga in hand. And a Painted Servant there. Alright, I see what this is. This is probably a turn where we cast Smallpox. I'll discard this Urborg. Oh no, I'll sacrifice a land, I guess. And then our opponent will play the Urza Saga out. Maybe. Oh no, we're on... Oh, another guy. Okay. What are we going to have here? Let's just keep saying no to their lands. Feels like we're constantly trying to fend off our opponent just killing us. We're going to see the Urza Saga here? No. Oh, the Urza Saga's gone actually, hasn't it? Okay, so we have a swamp. We have Liliana. We'll shrink the painter. So we'll do this a few turns and then we'll make the emblem and try and go wide with the emblem. It does end the game pretty quickly. Our opponent has a lot of free, has a lot of fast mana in their deck. So they could conceivably just have like Petal, Spirit Guide, Spirit Guide. Now if we can play this Karn, it will mess with their Grindstone. So another land would be great here. Oh, maybe we're going to get there. Oh, we messed this up. We should have played this and killed their Grindstone. That was an error. Right, let's go and get something with our Karn. What do we actually want here is the question. Let's get a Sorcerer's Spyglass. This will protect us from Grindstone. There's an Ancient Tomb. This is what we should have done last turn. Kill this off. Play Sorcerer's Spyglass. Okay, we'll name Urza Saga here. Deploy our land. So our opponent has to attack the Liliana for 1 this turn. If we draw a land, we can Lattice Lock our opponent. We might be getting there here. Alright. First game win of the night. So these ley lines are good here. The Abyss doesn't work versus Painter because this state's non... oh, it's just non-artifact, isn't it? Yeah, so that's not going to work against Painters and stuff. It'll work against the Goblins, though. Wouldn't mind a Damnation. It's just a way of saying no to some of that stuff. And I think we're just going to leave this in our sideboard for the most part. Karn is great in this matchup. This one actually kills stuff, so I don't mind that one. Liliana's pretty good at killing all our little guys too. The Edicts are fine, but not spectacular. Is this a game where we're going to be needing our Dark Rituals to power stuff out? Maybe. I think we want our hymns. We want Sinkhole because it blows up as a Saga, which is a really powerful card. Yeah, maybe it is just trimming some of these, playing for a slightly long game. Because I don't really want to draw a Dark Ritual in an opportune moment, do I? Maybe we'll take out the last one for a Sorcerer's Spyglass. Just have the main deck one. So we have Karn, which is the best card in our deck. We don't have any more mana sources. So I think we should mulligan. This requires some black mana somewhere along the lines. But we have a lot of mana to get to Karn. I think we'll keep this and we will ditch the Edict. Rather have an Edict or the Thoughtseize. Depends when we draw the black mana, right? We can Ghost Quarter our Urza Saga at the right time as well, if that's the thing we're interested in. I think we want to keep the Currency Converter because that can access black mana in a pinch. I think Thoughtseize goes here. Just a harmless basic mountain. Alright, that's a black card. I think we're playing out Throne of the High City into Currency Converter. And then we can play an Urza Saga, and then we can play a Ghost Quarter and activate our Urza Saga and try and win that way. This is going to be a Painter. It's a Painter. So if we can draw a black source, we can kill this. A Smallpox. That is not a black source. So we can Ghost Quarter ourselves to get a black source here. I think we are doing this horrible play that we might have to do. If our opponent goes to make a Grindstone and has some mana, then we want to kill this guy. We can float one from the throne, Ghost Quarter our own throne to get a swamp. That does take us down to 1 land, but if that's what we have to do to not lose the game, unfortunately that's what we're going to have to do. Yikes. Sure. We'll wait till our opponent activates the grindstone before we try and ghost quarter them out here. Playing this one out and passing a turn. I think we're probably going to ghost quarter our Urza Saga rather than our throne because it's a disappearing source of mana and I don't think we can deal with that. So now we're in this weird situation where if our opponent goes to... Okay, they're just going for the grind here. I hate this play. So, this floats for 1. This targets our own Urza Saga. They have a Pyroblast on our Urza Saga here. It's game over. This is the correct line for this. Yeah, Lightwalker's a pretty good Magic the Gathering player, so he's going to see that line. Yeah. Alright. So our hand didn't pan out very well there, truth be told. Do we want to do anything differently? I think we keep it like this. Alright, this hand is going to have a lot of hand disruption and an answer to Urza Saga. So this is a keeper. We will need to find a win condition. Throne of the High City is kind of a win condition, but might not get there. We do need another black source. But we do have Thoughtseize into all the Hymn to Tourach in the world, potentially. We have a lot of black sources in our deck. Didn't work out last time. A good example of how these cards are not free. Our opponent mulligan to 6, so this Thoughtseize is a little bit more potent. Yikes. I think we get rid of the engineer here. That represents the other half of the combo as well as an engine that can just overtake the game. So we need to make sure that's not a thing. You can see a turn 1 painter here. We are. Going to name black to dodge Snuff Out. Blue, okay. Blue for Pyroblast, sure. Thoughtseize. We're not casting it, right? A Mox Opal and a Phyrexian Dragon Engine. I think it's the engine that's got to go here. That's a relatively fast clock. Are we going to Wasteland our opponent? Or are we going to save this for an Urza Saga? I think we're supposed to save this for an Urza Saga, to be honest. So we're going to play out the Throne. Oh, Throne. You're worse than a swamp, I would say, at this point in the game. There's the Urza Saga. Excellent. There's the Mox Opal. So our opponent's got 2 mountains in hand. We take 1 here. They can eventually get this Phyrexian Dragon Engine as well. Snow covered swamp. We don't really care about the mountains in our opponent's hand. It's more important to kill this Urza Saga. If this was a swamp, we could have thrown him to Tourach out as well then. There's one of the mountains. Take 1 here. These Hymns to Tourachs are certainly looking worse as time goes by. So we're just going to clean up our opponent's hand here. There's another mountain. Alright, so we have a Wasteland for the next Urza Saga. Although if they play a Grindstone here, they just win the game. So maybe we have to Wasteland the Ancient Tomb to stop that from happening. Which is unfortunate. Yep, so they're going to get the Phyrexian Dragon Engine back in here to get a whole new grip of cards. So we're going to take a little bit of damage here, but that's not really the problem. It's the fact they've got a whole bunch of cards in hand. If they play out a land here, then we can clean them up with him. Right, so play land there. Okay. Let's try and him our opponent. They can Pyroblast this. They did not Pyroblast this. We Wasteland this, our opponent can't Grindstone us out next turn. Because while they had that, they had enough mana. Because the Mox gets turned on here. We can't go into the Throne of this High City. Because they'll just take it back. I think we would like another black source in play. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. Is this Hymns to Tourach getting any better? Probably not. Yeah, so it was mana they were sandbagging in case they drew the, what's it called? Grindstone. Sure, I think this painter might just go all the way and kill us here. Sinkhole, this doesn't really stop us from losing the game. Pyroblasting, sure. We need to find something to deal with this Painter Servant. Okay. If we activate the Throne of the High City, we lose the game because they just get the initiative and really start going to town on us. Because this will become a 3-power guy. A Smallpox? I guess so. And we'll sacrifice one of our swamps here. Alright, now we can actually go into the Throne of the High City if we draw a land. And our opponent doesn't make a creature here. Right, a land into the throne. That would be okay. A Smallpox. That's not really the one, is it? This is 4 to activate. What a ridiculous game this is. Alright, Liliana of the Veil. Plus this. What do we hit? A Pyroblast, sure. Our opponent said GG's, but I don't think this is GG's. Because, alright. Like, we need to find a win condition here. Like, we're in a pretty solid spot, don't get me wrong. Okay, we have a land there, so our win condition is online with the throne there. So the throne kind of jammed us up a bit, but also it gave us a potential to win. But we were on the board, so dodged the 0-5, and we really did our poxing that game, and it looked pretty fun and good. So that was nice. But we did have that horrible sequence where we're just sort of doing nothing, waiting to find something to kill the painter. But we did get there, so there is that. Let's go to round 4. So we're on the draw. We've got Thoughtseize into some stuff here. I think we can keep this one. It's a little bit tricky knowing what hand you actually want to keep sometimes, because hands often don't have a win condition. Right, him is a nice one to see. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent. Mishra's Bauble, Pithing Needle, Sigh. Right, we'll take the Sigh. It kind of blanks a lot of the things we're trying to accomplish here. Nether Void will be quite useful if we can get it down, but that's a relatively big if. It can certainly go wrong for us even if we do get it down. There's the Mishra's Bauble. There's the Urza's Bauble. There's another Mishra's Bauble, which was their draw for turn. So we know all the cards in their hand. They know the top card of our library. How is that going to impact what they do here? They've seen him to Tourach in our hand. So they're cracking all the baubles here. There's a seat of the Synod. Are they going to jam a Pithing Needle on something like a Wasteland? It's going to pass. We get to draw 3 cards and we get to discard 2 of them at random. Or 2 of them their choice if they... So we could play the Urza Saga. We could play a Nether Void this turn. How does that pan out for us? Probably quite badly, I would imagine. I think we're just supposed to him here. Discard Ancient Tomb and Pithing Needle. Ah, so the cards we knew about. Interesting. Full surprise from what our opponent has now. A Lotus Petal. An Urza Saga. And they're passing. Alright. Another Thoughtseize. We don't really want a Smallpox. We don't really want a Nether Void because our opponent is ahead on board because their Saga is going to be bigger than ours. So we will take their Thought Monitor, leave them with an Ancient Tomb. So they're going to play an Urza Saga and then we're going to Smallpox away their token, I guess, using our Dark Ritual so that we also get to make a Saga token of our own. Our opponent's probably got much better Saga targets than we have as well, because we have 1 Saga in our deck. We're not trying to leverage the Saga type stuff. They're making a guy now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is for a Thought Cast? Yeah. They're certainly pulling ahead a little bit here. Let's play Swamp. And we're casting Dark Ritual into Smallpox. Are we getting rid of Nether Void or are we getting rid of a Swamp? I think we get rid of a Swamp here. And we'll get rid of our tapped Swamp. So the construct is still bigger, the next one they make, but can't really do anything about that. Sacrifice this one. And then we'll pass over to our opponent. We don't need to use that mana. We can make this whenever is an opportune moment. Probably in response... The Pithing Needle's already in our opponent's graveyard, so we don't actually need to make the Urza Saga in response to that. They're not going to have 2 Pithing Needles in their deck. They could have something like an Aether Spellbomb though. So it's definitely better off for us waiting on this one. Sure, another Thought Cast. Our opponent's kind of undone all of our discard quite effectively at this point. Wowzers, trousers. Another one. So our Urza Saga is going to look pretty bad in comparison to our opponents, because our whole deck is built to be an Urza Saga deck. Whereas we're just getting a little bit of value. We might regret keeping this Nether Void, but their deck is just full of zeros. So if we can get this down, it might be quite useful. Let's make a Saga. Let's just make another one. Now what is the question? Cursed Scroll or Currency Converter? Currency Converter is going to be quite slow here. But so is Cursed Scroll, and we don't have 3 mana necessarily. So I think we want the converter here. So we've got 2 3/3s to our opponent's 4/4. It's not a bad place to be. But our opponent has a whole bunch of cards in hand. So this could be bad. And their engine kind of snowballs once they get a few cards in hand. They kind of end up with more and more. This is like a sigh. Yep, this is going to be very hard for us to beat. Can we beat this? I guess with Karn. Yep, so they're just getting another... I mean, we don't really have any plays. Might as well just F6 through this turn. Alright, so they played a Chalice on 1 to make another Thopter, which is also going to shut off our Dark Rituals and Thoughtseizes. That stage of the game is kind of gone anyway. We can't even double block this because it's so large now. We kind of just need to do Karn things here, and I don't know if we're going to have the time to do that. Snow-covered Swamp. I think we will draw and discard here. Probably supposed to do that before we play the Swamp there. We'll get rid of our spell that doesn't do anything. We can kill their Sai, but that's not actually that helpful at this stage. The Sai's already done enough damage just by making 2 artifacts. How are we going to get ourselves at this? We're going to have to chump block with constructs. And yep, their construct's going to get massive here. Alright. Any more artifacts? No. Okay. They're not attacking with the Thopters, which is interesting to me. Right, so we've got chump block here. A little bit of damnation action wouldn't go amiss. But that's in our sideboard. We can get rid of the Sai. We've got a chump block here, if we want it. Is it more important to get rid of the Sai, or to get this Liliana ticking away and distracting our opponent? We're more likely to double spell next turn if we play the Liliana here. We don't really want this Nether Void. Sure. We're playing this out. Feels like our opponent might have a counter spell, but no. Right, let's discard a Nether Void. Put it underneath our currency converter. So this gives us a few more rounds of chump block in here. They can send a bunch of Thopters at our Liliana though. Not enough to kill it though. Is this going to be a Hull Breacher? They're going to Ottawa our construct, sure. So our currency converter has to make us a chump blocker for this. So if they attack all of these at Liliana, it will die. So they probably send the construct at us and these at Liliana. And then we're going to get buried by the second Saga, I think. Let's see where these go. So this is coming at me. They're all coming at me. Alright. My little guy. Go to blocks. I want to live. Okay. How do we get a Karn and an Ensnaring Bridge into play right now? That is a difficult question. That's a pretty good one to discard here. We'll put on the converter here. We'll pass the turn. And then our opponent's upkeep will kill the Sai. This is whenever you cast an artifact. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature, please. So we've got a 9/9 and 3 1/1s. And then the following turn we die. Alright. Going to be difficult here. Not really sure what we have. But we get to see if our opponent's got anything unusual in their deck. Potentially. Let's get a little bit more information. Our opponent's got less time on their clock, so I don't mind playing this one out. And put the Nether Spirit in, because this can be a chump blocker next turn as well. We have 2 chump blockers next turn, but neither of them fly. That's not going to stop us versus the Liliana. And they're going to have a second Saga construct as well. Tricky stuff. Yes, I would like my free guy. I can't. Let's make them sacrifice a guy. So we've got 2 chump blockers. We take 2, go to 1. However, if there is a Shadow Spear in our opponent's deck, we will very much lose this game. We're not close to stabilizing, but a Dark Ritual or so maybe, but we can't cast them because of the Chalice of the Void. But we can play the Karn, blow up the Chalice, and then cast stuff. But yeah, they're not going to have a second Pithing Needle, so I'm not going to activate this now. I'm going to get Spell Bomb. Spell Bomb is lethal. Yeah. They bounce our guy, we block 1 and we die. Yep. Alright. Let's go to sideboarding. So Damnation is going to be useful here. The Abyss can kill Emeries and Size, but that's it. I don't really think that's where I want to be. I don't hate Ensnaring Bridge here as a main deck thing. But the ley lines are kind of interesting against Emery. I think we're just trying to like erode all of their things. So the Liliana that -1's little guys, that doesn't stop Emery, doesn't stop really any of their guys. So no to Liliana, the last hope, I'm afraid. And we'll put out Dark Ritual because our friend's a Chalice deck. We could put out 2 more for these ley lines, but it only impacts their Emery. I don't think that's worth. Do you want any of these main deck? Maybe we'll take a Spyglass over another Ritual. Sure. Let's try it like this. We have a turn 2 Karn. I think that's good. Opponent's mulligan to 6. Turn 2 Karn shuts off a lot of their deck. Now we might be able to blow up something exciting with its +1. Alright, so we'll have no turn 1 play. If our opponent goes something like Ancient Tomb Chalice, that's pretty annoying for us. So our Dark Ritual line, we can still him to Tourach our opponent and eventually blow up the Chalice with the Karn. There's a Bauble. There's another Bauble. There's a Mox Opal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a Chalice for 1. Sure. Opponent's got 2 cards in hand. How many Baubles will they crack? I imagine they crack 1 Bauble in our turn so they don't get cards taken out of their hand. Alright. Let's him to Tourach our opponent. Thought Monitor and Force of Negation. Alright. They're cracking 1 Bauble now. They might crack more, but if they do that, they risk losing Metalcraft. So I think it's just the 1 is the correct right there. Again, we're not really going to be clocking them quickly, so I don't think they have to worry about that sort of thing. Now, what are we supposed to do here? I think we are supposed to cast this Sinkhole. I think we're supposed to go after the Ancient Tomb. Or if we take the blue source out and then play the Karn, they can't Mox Opal. They just won't have access to blue mana. I think that might be the play here. They're immediately going to draw as a Saga, I'm sure. But what's this? 4 mana. A Force of Negation. Alright. It was a discard spell all along. That's a discard. That's a counter spell we've got out of their hand that won't hit the Karn. So we can get Karn, smash their Mox, and so we basically need our opponent to not really do anything too exciting this turn. That's not that exciting. Okay, that's kind of exciting. But our opponent is now hellbent, and we're going to deploy Karn, blowing up their Mox Opal. What can they get back? If we blow the Mox Opal up, they have 3 mana available. They can replay a Spell Bomb that doesn't do anything. They can replay a Bauble that doesn't do anything. How much is Thought Monitor? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So they won't be able to cast that, and then we can start edicting them the turn after. Yep, so they crack the Bauble in response, so they at least get the card out of it. So we'll smash the Chalice first, because that unlocks our Dark Ritual, if that's the thing we want to do. So we could Dark Ritual. We could Mycosynth's Lattice our opponent next turn, which is a pretty good thing to be doing. We have exactly the right mana for that. Let's see what our opponent has to say about that. Chalice the Void. Sure, they can play a Chalice for 1. We don't get to Lattice lock them this time. But we can do it on the following turn. Say goodbye to this. We could just Nether Void. I don't know how good Nether Void is here, to be honest. Whenever they cast a spell, it's going to cost them 3 more. So we could Dark Ritual, Edict, Nether Void. I don't hate that. Let's try that. Dark Ritual, Edict, Nether Void. We got a Nether Void into play. Maybe. They could have a counter spell for this. Alright, they've scooped it up. Sure. So we would have needed another land to make our thing. But if they're under Nether Void, it's going to be... we can still just get Mycosynth... not Mycosynth. Liquid Metal Coating. And just start winning that way. So, alright. That worked just fine to me. I think we run it back. We only have 1 mana source. I think we have to send this one back. We have 2 mana sources. But we're a little bit cold to the old Chalice. I think we'll get rid of one of our Thoughtseizes because of that. So we might be Liliana-ing on turn 1 off without ritual, or we might be Thoughtseizing, or we might be doing nothing, depending on what our opponent manages to assemble this turn. We're just going to get Kappa Cannoneered on turn 1. Thoughtcast, that's not so bad. They still haven't chosen a land to play. There's the seat. Into Spell Bomb, sure. Cracking a Bauble. We've seen the Liliana in our hand. Cracking a Bauble. We've seen the top card of our library twice. This is an interesting choice here. Do we just try and Thoughtseize our opponent to take out the specific thing, or jam the Liliana? I think we're supposed to take the specific thing from our opponent's hand here. What do we have here? Force of Negation, Force of Will, Kappa Cannoneer. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we do have to take the Kappa Cannoneer. Maybe that's foolhardy, because the Liliana can answer it, but we can't take both of their counter spells. So we'll always have a counter spell for our Liliana. Okay. This is an interesting choice here. I want to put this Liliana into play. I think we just got to believe that we're going to be able to get another turn, and with some mana. Let's him our opponent here. Ancient Tomb and Force of Will down. Let's play out the Throne and pass. If we can find a black mana, then we're doing alright. Right, so our opponent has high cast Force of Negation. What do we got here? A Sigh? A Thought Monitor. That's a very good one. Okay, if we can draw a black source, I don't mind losing our Throne of the High City to cast a Smallpox here. Alright, that's the thing we have. Black, black. Let's try Smallpox. Do you want 2 cards from your hand? Or do you want to lose a land, a card from your hand, and your Thought Monitor? I think we discard the Wasteland here and Throne of the High City. You get punished by an Urza Saga pretty easily, but any land gives us a Liliana, which can start doing its thing. Alright, so pitch an Ancient Tomb. Hardcast Force of Negation, back on the menu. Thoughtcast. Yep, it's a pretty good one. Like, we're not casting it, right? We need to pave the way for our Liliana to actually do some stuff. Kappa Cannoneer, Force of Negation, Sigh. It's got to be the Sigh here, I think. Now, an Ancient Tomb does give them Kappa Cannoneer, but that way they won't be able to stop our Liliana. A Bauble, sure. A Sudden Edict, that kills Kappa Cannoneer as well. Our opponent's not going to crack the Bauble for the hopes that they can get their Kappa Cannoneer into play. That would be my assumption here. They are cracking the Bauble, that's fascinating to me. You just needed one artifact and you had a really big scary guy. They do know we have a Liliana in hand, I suppose. Right, we've got an island. And it's back to us. There's Swamp. So this is probably going to eat a Force of Negation. But we have to get that Force of Negation out of our opponent's hand. Sure, so now we want our opponent to drop the Kappa Cannoneer, then we can edict it. And then we're basically both top decking, but our opponent's a blue deck for the cantrips. And they've just got an Urza Saga. Yeah, this game is over. Here comes the big guy. This isn't actually a problem for us right now. The Saga is... So a Wasteland would be a great draw for us here. Sure, they're pumping their guy now. Let's draw a Wasteland, please. It's not a Wasteland. Let's do this. And I guess we're casting this Cursed Scroll. Our opponent's constructs are going to be big. They're what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the first one, which will then attack as an 8 plus any other artifacts they draw. So they can probably kill us in 2 turns. Well, we have an answer for the Emery at least. But our opponent can probably kill us next turn just with the Urza Saga. Our own Urza Saga. Does that make a difference here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we play this one out. And what are we doing? We can't Curse Scroll this away. Let's see what we find. A Sinkhole. So they get 1 token instead of 3 artifacts out of it. But they do get to play an artifact from their graveyard. We're almost certainly dead here. We don't have any sort of nice big haymakers outside of Karn And the time for Karn has come and gone. So this is going to be 6 plus whatever they can get out of their bin this turn. We did put Damnation in our deck, but that's not really going to be enough here, is it? 1 mana, 2/2s that draw 2 cards. Eat your heart out, Moldrifter. So what are we doing now? A Thought Cast, sure. And there's this Bauble. Chalice for 1. We're not casting any 1-drop. We can't cast any 1-drops at this point. And they've got lethal damage with this guy now, so we are dead. Alright. Yeah, basically we won the second game because we played a Karn. And the other games... Was that the second game or was that the first game, actually? I think it was the second game off the Karn, right? But yeah, so we kind of... Wait, actually, was that even this round? Sorry. A bit out of it this evening. Yeah, our opponent kind of just draws through all the stuff we're doing. So we can't really get anywhere. And then they've got lots and lots of threats and we don't really have a threat. We can't really get on top and push our advantage very much. We're kind of finding the same problems in a lot of matchups, really. Let's go to the final round and see if we can get 2-3 out of it. We're on the draw. We can make a turn 1 Liliana. We're going to need to find some more mana. We get 2 draw steps to find another mana source. But we probably only need 1 more mana source to work with. Reluctant keep, I guess. I think we need to leverage things a little bit here. Oh no. Looks like our opponent might be the... Oh, okay. Esper Sentinel, Ornithopter. Is this hammer time? Feels like hammer time. Interesting. What are we supposed to do here is the question. We're definitely casting Dark Ritual. We're not going to pay here. You can have a card. So we can either him our opponent and play Curse Scroll, or we can play a Liliana. If we play a Liliana and plus, doesn't do us too much. Kind of forces an attack on the Liliana. I think we'll jam the Liliana here. So we'll do this. And then next turn we can either him or Sheoldred's Edict depending on what the board state looks like at the time. I think I want to keep this Curse Scroll because if our opponent is some sort of Hammer Time deck, all their little creatures can die to Curse Scroll. But it'll probably be the next thing that goes. Cranial Plating. Okay, so more like full-on affinity here. Okay, so we can kill both of our opponent's creatures next turn if we want to. Opponent's got 3 cards in hand. Alright, let's make them sacrifice a creature. Goodbye, Ornithopter, I suspect. And we do have this Esper Sentinel to deal with. Which is a little bit annoying. But we'll make our opponent commit mana so they can't. So if we do it in our turn, then our opponent gets to see the card before they make some decisions. Alright, that's a 1/1 colourless servo there. Sheoldred's Edict can ignore this. I'm playing on this guy. I will not pay 5 to prevent this. Right, so an Ancient Tomb. They can start making Retrofit's Foundry tokens if they want to. Alright, so what do we got here? Liliana. The Last Hope that we can't cast. We've got a Curse Scroll. It's good if we have some more mana. I think we need to him our opponent here. Another Cranial Plating. I'm plussing this one. I think it's going to be the Cursed Scroll. If we get 3 mana to make Curse Scroll, we can also do Liliana, which is going to be able to kill all their guys. So we've emptied our opponent's hand now, but they can make Retrofit's Foundry tokens. So I imagine they kill our Liliana. If we can find land and then just kill their servo token, that's not a bad spot to be. Is this coming in at the Lily? It is, sure. Another Retrofit's Foundry. Doesn't do anything that the first one wasn't already doing, to be honest. Thoughtseize, that doesn't really help us out there, does it? Alright. We'll wait till our opponent activates this. And then in response, each opponent sacrifices a creature token. This way we get rid of the one that's got the thing on, so they have to spend more mana if they want it. There's a guy making a servo token there. Equipping this. Yep, we're going to struggle here. A Sinkhole. What does this do for us? Not a lot. We can take out the Ancient Tomb and kind of limit their mana production. Yeah, they get card though. This is not great. Like we're taking 8, 9, 10 this turn. 11. Okay, we are a mega dead. Okay. This one is going to be hard. I don't think we've got time to mess around with trying to find the source of Spyglass off of Karn. So I think we can have this. I think Curse Scroll might be... I don't know, it seems okay here, right? But Currency Converter, if we can keep making tokens, is going to be good as well. Sinkhole feels bad, right? That's not the one we want. The Ensnaring Bridge isn't even that good here because our opponent can snap the things off at instant speed with its activated ability. We'll have a Damnation instead of the Sinkhole though. Do we want an Ensnaring Bridge instead of a Sinkhole? I think we do. Right, we're going to submit like this. Like if we can make like a turn 1 Karn or something silly with like double ritual, that would be very good. But we've got one of those hands that needs more black mana than we have here. This is a recurring theme I've discovered. We do have 2 of the cards that we're desperately looking for, so I think we have to keep this and try and find a black source. I imagine we're going to draw Throne and lose the game. Right, we'll jam out the swamp. See what our opponent's up to. There's Plains, there's a Retrofits Foundry. That's not too scary. Alright, so here's a Wasteland. Here is a Sorcerer's Spyglass. Let's see what our opponent's working with. Okay, we're going to name Retrofits Foundry, I think. So you've got Seasoned Engineer in their sort of affinity-esque deck. So we're getting a Nettle Cyst. Alright. So we're a relatively decent creature, right? I see we're in that situation again, aren't we? Alright. Are we playing Ensnaring Bridge? Or are we wastelanding our opponent off of the Ancient Tomb? I think we're supposed to wasteland the Ancient Tomb here, right? We do have Karn next turn if we do it this way. Let's try this. So we can turn the Nettle Cyst into a creature with Karn, which will make it fall off the Germ token. There's a Seasoned Engineer. That's a thing we're going to have to worry about at some point. But hopefully not for a little while. Okay, so play another artifact. Why are you playing another artifact? You can't attack with your guy? Oh, they can't attack with their guy actually, sorry. Yeah, because it's 4. It's exactly the most amount of damage and I should be quiet. This last game of the night, I'm tired. Okay, let's play this Wasteland, I guess. Karn, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I plus on this Nettle Cyst, it will be able to attack as a problem. Fascinating. Because if I plus this, they can just not attack with any of their things, right? If I kill this, this is going to be attacking us anyway. We have to plus with no targets here. Because if we do these, they get to attack. If we do this, this shrinks onto the size of our Ensnaring Bridge, can attack. So we have to do no targets. Alright, opponent venturing into the Undercity. Into the Scry Room. So we've seen a bunch of these cards now. I think we've seen the Plains as well, haven't we? So we've got Prismatic Ending. They can't do it for 2 because the Mox Opal is shut off. So this might attack us or it might attack the Karn. Hard to say. I kind of don't want this to get counters on ideally. I did get a counter. It's just coming at us. Oh no, it came at Karn. The thing was not working right there. Sure. I hovered over and it said it was coming at me. It's a bit of a Modo bug. Alright. Junior Smith finding the Sentinel. Playing the Sentinel. Sure. Smallpox. Interesting. He's got 2 cards in hand. So what we can do here is Liliana us. We can get a Liliana out here by ghost coring ourselves for the extra black source. Or we can Smallpox, putting ourselves down to 1 card in hand. And what's on our sideboard? Anything taking my fancy there? Not particularly. I think we're on the lattice next turn maybe. So this one is plussing this turn. So we're going to say no to Mox Opal. We do this, we only have 1 card left in hand. And then we add this. We Ghost Quarter targeting our Wasteland. I hate that I've had to make this play more than once this league. So if we Smallpox, it does get rid of one of their guys. And we can pay. Get rid of this into Tourach. That does put us further away from the lattice lock. So the only thing that should be able to attack us next turn is the Esper Sentinel. That's the plan anyway. And we'll sacrifice one of our Wastelands here. So they're goading so they can get across to their archives and draw a card, because that's going to be better for them than a skeleton. And obviously the stash doesn't do anything in the face of Karn. So even though the arena's not doing them anything, neither would a stash, so it makes sense to go across that way. So this is going to attack Karn for 1, I would imagine. So this is attacking us. Alright, this time it was attacking us. Okay, good. Okay. I probably will get to draw a card here. That's unfortunately the way it has to be. Right, we'll say no to Esper Sentinel. And we will say no targets for this guy. They don't have any 1/1s that can attack us. Alright. But they're drawing an extra card this turn. Staff the Storyteller. This gives them a 1/1. It is a thing that we can kill because we have the Liliana, so that's nice. There's a Caracas. So +1 on Spirit Token. I think we play out this as a Saga. We him our opponent. Make sure we're all hellbound. What do we get there? A Prismatic Ending and a Cranial Plating. And I think we minus this for Liquid Metal Coating here. Deploy the coating. Pass the turn. This will shut off one of their planes. If they've got something like a Liliana the Third Path in their deck, they can hit off of this. An Ingenious Smith. Oh, sorry, an Esper Sentinel. Alright, so this is going to give them more cards to draw. Another Nettle Cyst. If we ever lose this Ensnare Bridge, we're very dead. Okay, so what do we want to do here? So this is plussing. Are we just strip mining them here? We've got multiple ways we can strip mine them, to be fair. Say no to this. Plus this on this. This can minus this guy, I guess. And we have a choice between whether we do the Sudden Edict or we make a Saga token. We don't have to decide now, so we'll see how this goes. Where are they going? Secret entrance for now. They got Forge or Lost Well for next turn. So they've got themselves another Saga. They don't have any 1/1s here. I think we'll make a token here. We'll make another token. We'll get ourselves a Cursed Scroll. That's a win condition, right? After a fashion. So let's say notice there's a Saga. This can shrink this guy, I guess. And we pass the turn. They're just going to go down Forge and see if they can loop trap enough times to kill us. That seems like a pretty solid thing to do. They're basically always getting free cards off this Sentinel as well. There's another Saga that we can kill next turn. Sheoldred's Edict. Not quite the one we're looking for. So we could ultimate this. And I think we will. And then we are on turning this into a thing. Plussing the Karn to get rid of it. And then we have to decide if we're going to fire off these edicts and let our opponents draw cards. Or we're going to... are we supposed to Sudden Edict our opponent here or not? Guess we can do it on our opponent's turn if we need to. So this gets out of hand very quickly. If I'm familiar with this one, you get X plus 2 zombie tokens a turn, where X is the number of zombies you have. So it grows exponentially. Sure. An Ornithopter. This is the thing that can attack. So this is actually kind of a potential issue here. Revealed Sudden Edict, sure. Kind of awkward that these are creeping up now. I think we have to Sudden Edict our opponent this turn. Let's do this. Plus on this. We could go and get ourselves a Crucible of Worlds here, but I think we need to get a card out of our hand, given the situation. So this time we get 4 zombies. There's a Saga, we'll blow that up in a bit. With it being a combat. And then we'll cast this. We'll not post 6, they do get to draw a card here. This will mean that the Seasoned Dungeoneer can't attack. There's a Shadow Spear. You can't equip it. Drawing some lands would be nice, to be honest. A Smallpox. A Smallpox, you say. Say no to this. We don't really have a lot of lands for casting the old Smallpox, do we? Doesn't feel like a great one. So on 15, 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And we use 8 of that, so that's not quite enough. If we Smallpox them, that's probably okay here. We're about to go into Throne of the Dead 3, which I'm not a big fan of, but this gets another card out of our hand as well. We'll get rid of one of our guys that's not going to be attacking. And we'll sacrifice this because we need black mana. Maybe we should have been getting Crucible with Karn earlier. We're not ready to attack just yet. Because this turn we get a whole bunch, and then next turn is lethal. Just like playing Dredge. So it's Ingenious Smith. It's going to find them a bunch of stuff. See what they got. I don't think destroying Iron Stone Bridges even does it now, so we can cast that in a bit. So I think we go to attacks here. Dead. Alright. We managed to get a win there. So yeah, Liliana was pretty good. Do we want to change anything? Ensnaring Bridge was good. Our opponent's definitely going to have something like Loran or whatever. So I think we just run it back. Just try and prison them out. It's kind of awkward. Like, Sinkhole was nice to get rid of Saga. But we have Wastelands for that. The problem with Wastelands is that if we're using our lands for that, it makes our Smallpox kind of awkward. I think we're just going to resubmit. Like it worked last time, right? Results is everything, I suppose. Our opening hand's got Thoughtseize into Ensnaring Bridge. These are cards I would like to have. Retrofit's Foundry is pretty reasonable against the Ensnaring Bridge. We also have enough lands that we can... Okay, we'll get rid of this Ingenious Smith, I suppose. We also have enough lands that we can cast a Smallpox without completely ruining ourselves. Which is a bit awkward that we're a deck that sometimes ruins ourselves. But so we're going to make a 1-1 end of turn here. So we'll play out this. We'll jam a Curse Scroll. I think we're supposed to be running all of the same swamps for the purpose of Curse Scroll, maybe. I think that's better than potentially making a Predict, which doesn't really see a lot of play. Less good from your opponent. Right, so there's a Servo. A Prismatic Ending on the Curse Scroll, sure. This does represent some other coloured mana, which can be a slight problem for us. So what are we doing here? Playing out Castle Locthwain. Are we jamming this Ensnaring Bridge? Are we jamming Liliana and plussing? I think we're jamming Liliana and plussing. This means that if we can get our Ensnaring Bridge down, it's going to be a lot better. We need them to not find another Spire of Industry. If they got a Lotus Petal off their Saga, they can use that to cast a Prismatic Ending. Prismatic Ending for 3 will kill our guys. We'll kill our Ensnaring Bridge. Are these coming? Both coming at Liliana. Sure, over to us. Him to Tourach, our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. Kind of need this Prismatic Ending to go away. I think we are doing this. So we have a choice here. We can either discard a card to put this to 3, which means that the Saga token has to come in it, so it saves us some damage, or we can just get one of these servos off the board. What is more important to me? Is it the life or getting a servo off the board? With Ensnaring Bridge, I think getting a servo off the board might be more important here. As strange as that is. How big is this construct going to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus. It's going to be a fair size, actually. I think we plus and try and get them to commit the Urza Saga towards the Liliana and save ourselves a bunch of damage, because we might have to ride through the initiative a couple of times here. They could get a Pith and Needle and just name Liliana that way. That would be pretty annoying. But our Ensnaring Bridge should be pretty good here. They could also name Castle Locthwain to stop us drawing cards, but I doubt that's what they're really worried about. Pith and Needle, Liliana. Sure. Karn the Great Creator. Okay. I see. I don't think our mono black deck is going to answer that. So, okay, they're all coming at us. This means we can hide behind this Ensnaring Bridge. Yep, just making another guy. Him to Tourach. Let's cast this. Let's discard a card. And we're settling into this pattern again. This time, our opponent has a Retrofit's Foundry, so if we make a mistake and get us, they can also Cranial Plating onto an Ornithopter. I guess they can't do that with the Karn now. This doesn't get to activate because of the Pith and Needle, but it stops them activating their artifacts, so it's just a Null Rod. Is that going to be good enough? I don't know. A Damnation would be pretty handy. I think we boarded that in. Pretty sure I boarded that in. I'd be very concerned if I didn't. Yeah, we did board in the Damnation. Okay. Okay, so we will cast the thing that we have. We'll pay the tax. I don't know if our opponent wants cards in the graveyard. We've only got 4 minutes left on our clock as well, so I think we're probably losing this one. And that's what's this, sure. There's a Saga. Play it out. +1 the Liliana. And pass. And there's a Saga, sure. A Smallpox. Not a big fan of the Smallpox. If we do the thing, right? We get to split that thing into 2 piles. So, oh god. Not something I really want to resolve with this little time on the thing. So we want all their lands in one side and Pit the Needle and all their creatures in the other side, right? I got them all? Yes, okay. Do you want lands or spells? They want their spells. Okay. So I guess we have to cast this. We'll say no to this because they're going to discard it anyway. Get one of these lands and pass the turn. This means that we can check a 1/1 potentially. A Wasteland. Sure. We'll create a guy. Currency converter. Get this. Plus the Liliana. And pass the turn, I guess. Just gonna keep attacking with this guy. It burns time on my clock. That's what I'm sure. So our plan now is to should be activating this actually. So our plan is to get Liliana up to 6. We should be doing this every turn. Put Liliana up to 6 and basically say, do you want this Pith Needle or everything else? And then try and get them that way. We don't have a lot of time to do this though. So we'll plus this. Okay. Yes. Yes. Let's make a guy. Reactivate that. Pass. Pass for our opponent's turn. Sure. Start for Storyteller. That's fine. Tap both the Ornithopters. We already F6. Sure. Play our land out. We'll minus this. Pith Needle or all your permanents. They got rid of the Pith Needle. Sure. Okay, so our opponent doesn't get casting spells, but we still need to win the game here. So it's going to be hard. In 19 seconds. You play discard a card, and Jesus, how do we get out of this? Oh, we're just dead here, right? We win this game if we're not playing online, but such is life. Yeah, so for the purposes of the deck, that's a win, but I just played a little bit slowly there, which is kind of the nature of a deck that doesn't do a lot in terms of winning the game. How would I go about winning this game? Probably be like Cursed Scroll and just Cursed Scroll them out over the course of 10 turns because we've got one on our sideboard here. That's probably where I'm going to be. Get that Cursed Scroll and then do our thing. That's not a great route to winning this game, is it, to be honest? It's a very slow route. Alright, that's the end of the league. Let's talk about the deck. So we went 1-4, but we were going to win that last round if we had a bit more time. So I'm going to count that for the deck. It's a 2-3, but obviously for me personally it was a 1-4, and that's on me, not the deck. So I think you're going to know what I'm going to say about this one. I've identified a few key problems with this deck. Now, when we're attacking our opponent's resources, we don't do anything with that advantage we give ourselves, right? We kind of play some things, you know, we're smashing their opponent's lands, killing their creatures, messing with their hand. And then we sort of sit there staring at our opponent while we both take turns drawing cards until they draw into more action and just beat us. That's what happened so much of the time. The only games where we actually got to like lock our opponent and actually do stuff were basically ones with Karn, if I'm being honest. And the person who donated this deck didn't want us to play Karn Pox. But I'm not sure how you're supposed to win with like a mono black Pox deck without Karn. I'm just not sure what that looks like. Are we supposed to be running a bunch of Bloodghast? We've actually got ways of attacking our opponent. maybe that's okay. That's also a good thing we can discard to Smallpox. Maybe that's something we should be looking at. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I felt like we just didn't have ways of closing the game out, and we lost a lot of games because of that, even though we got ahead. I'll also say that this Throne of the High City, we never got to activate it. We did have an opponent scoop because of this was in play and was going to be our win condition, but it didn't need to be this. This could have been like a Castle Locthwain, and it would have been the same situation for us. However, we did get situations where our Throne of the High City didn't tap for black, so we didn't get to really play as much of the game as we would have liked. We had to Ghost Quarter our own lands twice in this league, and I added one land to this deck from what I was submitted as well. So not great in that front, I wouldn't say. The Nether Void didn't really come up, to be honest. It was something that we couldn't cast because we were smallpoxing or had disappearing lands through Wasteland and as a Saga. So we just didn't really get to do our thing. I think part of the problem with this deck is when I've played Pox before, I've wanted to be a Life from the Loam deck, because that means you've always got something to do every turn. Like after you've suppressed your opponent's board, you have something to do every turn. So they don't get to catch up. You just get to keep them in the dirt, and then you can keep dredging and find yourself some win conditions, or just completely Ghost Quarter them out of the game, or whatever. Whatever you fancy, you've definitely got options there. Whereas here, we have this Crucible of Worlds. Now, we do have kind of 3 Crucible of Worlds because of Karn, and there was definitely a game where we should have got a Crucible at some point. And that did take some time off of our clock, so maybe that cost us the last round in terms of what I did on paper, but the actual deck itself, I'm going to count that as a win. The Lilianas we had, so Waker of the Dead, it's an expensive 4-mana spell. We sideboarded out a lot. Feels very hard for us to hit our mana because we've got all these, we've got disappearing lands and we've got Smallpox, so 4 drops are not easy to hit, to be honest. Now we do have Dark Rituals to help with that, but when we don't have the Dark Rituals, it's a bit awkward, and we kind of want to use Dark Rituals early on to like push out an early Lily or like Thoughtseize him Tourach type thing. So that doesn't quite work as well. The Sinkholes were slightly better than I thought they would be, to be honest. Like, Sinkhole is a card that people don't really play these days because land destruction like that isn't that effective as a general rule. Like, we have Wasteland, which is just a much smaller investment of resources, and all the lands you want to hit are non-basics. So the Wastelands kind of got you covered. And if you want more Wastelands, you tend to just play Life from the Loam or something like that, or a way of recurring your Wastelands or finding more Wastelands. So like ramming up Excavators or Night of the Reliquaries or whatever. Or I think the Death and Taxes deck runs the Field of Ruin, which can destroy some non-basics without leaving you a card down as well. So I think we're kind of struggling a little bit with what we're trying to do here. A lot of our cards impact the board in a specific way, but not in a way that necessarily wins us the game. We have lots of ways that can slow our opponent, but if we're not doing anything, then our opponent being slowed means nothing, which is kind of the issue. I think this deck needs a lot more win conditions. And in this sort of day and age of Magic, a win condition that a lot of your opponents can muster can win the game so quickly now that you don't have time to take a few draw steps, take a little bit of a beating, and try and deploy your like Smallpoxes and things later on or whatever. Right, you don't get to use your life total as a resource for very long because the threats these days are so tough. And we don't have a way of applying any pressure and taking any advantage of the situation we're in. Most of the time, it felt like we just wanted to draw a Karn and sit behind the Karn. I think if you want to play a mono black Pox deck, it should probably be Karn. But if you don't want to play Karn, then you need to jam some like Bloodghast or something. You need to have things actively pressuring your opponent's life total so you can win the game. Quite what that looks like, I don't know. This is also a deck that's probably a pretty good candidate for things like reanimate spells, because, you know, you discard your opponent a lot and then you can reanimate their things, or you could use a Smallpox and your own Liliana as ways of discarding some things that are good, or you could play like Grief, so you can just grief scam people. So you've got like a scam package as well. Maybe that's where you want to be. I think this deck is not exactly where I want to be. I'm not sure. Let's have a look at these cards. The Last Hope did win us a game, but I think a faster win condition would have been better. The Currency Converter and Curse Scroll are also kind of awkward. Are they good enough win conditions for what we're trying to accomplish? I'm not 100% sure. So like this selection of cards here, like the Nether Void, Liliana, Currency Converter, Curse Scroll, I feel we could be using our deck a little bit better. This Throne of the High City, it could even just be that the Manland, right? The Eye of the Beholder Manland, whatever it's called, the black one that I think has Menace. That would be better than the Throne of the High City, I think. It can take the initiative because it's got Menace. It can actively pressure your opponent and give you a win condition, so that's fine. Like, we don't even have any Mistress Factory, but also that card is black. It's a black land, so that's also really important. So I think there's definitely room for improvement on this deck, whichever way you want to take it. I wouldn't mind trying to play some sort of Bloodghasty deck. This does not feel as good as the Worm Harvest Pox deck I played on my channel a while back. If you just search on my channel, you can. I think it was Worm Harvest Pox was the name of the video. You can have a watch of that one. I think that list was more solid than this. It just feels like we can cast a Smallpox, but it's not even that good sometimes. Sometimes it actively hurts us, but we have to cast it. It's a bit awkward all round, I think, Smallpox in a mono black deck without more ways to leverage it. Sideboard wise, we had this Karn package. I don't think we need a Curse Scroll and a Currency Converter on a Karn package. If they were ley lines, I think we'd just be in better shape versus a Reanimator matchup. Or just stuff in general where we're trying to discard our opponent where they might be able to use their graveyard as a resource. I think the ley lines would just be more effective than these two cards, which are very low impact. You want your Karn cards to be high impact, right? Crucible of Worlds. Okay, this puts your opponent in a Wasteland or Ghost Quarter lock. Or gives you recurring as a Saga. That's great. Obviously, Ensnaring Bridge shuts down the aggro. Stonebrain, rip out the combo cards from your opponents so they can't win. Mike's Lattice, lock them out of the game. Liquid Metal Coating, slowly strip mine them. Sorcerer's Spyglass, hit that important combo card, like or like an Emery or something, or something that's going to stop you. You can get the Sorcerer's Spyglass and say no to it. Damping Sphere, I'm less convinced by Damping Sphere because by the time you've got the Karn and they're getting this, it's probably too late for Damping Sphere, so this is another slot that I think you could use for something else. Tormod's Crypt, obviously great, and I mentioned that at the top. So I think these three slots need to be played with, and I think this needs to be reworked here. I think Nether Void is quite difficult for us to play in a lot of ways. I wonder if there's a way that we could play a Pox deck with less lands, or so we have more mana sources that aren't lands. Is that crazy? Like take a Saga Storm almost mana base where we've got a bunch of Moxen, and then we can Smallpox without losing one of our mana sources. That might be kind of interesting. I'm not sure. I think if you want to go the Bloodghast route, you might want to Singleton Dackmore Salvage as well. It's a good thing to discard and then dredge to maybe find some more things, but also you can play it repeatedly, Smallpox it away, and just keep recycling your Bloodghast if that's a thing that appeals to you. So I think I've had quite a lot of thoughts on this one, and I hope the person who donated the deck is happy with my assessment on this. We didn't get the best record, but we did have some cool games here and there, and I'm going to chalk this one up as a 2-3 for the deck. Alright, thank you very much for watching. If you too would like a donation deck on the channel, you can contact me via my Discord, which is in the link below. Just send me a private message and we can arrange that. I'm currently doing £15 for donation decks. I think I've got one slot left for this month. And I'm probably going to keep my price the same for next month, but it might go up in July. So get your orders in for your decks now, right? Also, you can become a member of the YouTube channel or join my Patreon, which is also linked below. I've got a primer, like a full deck guide for Green Black Turbo Depths, including sideboard guide, going up on my Patreon, hopefully on the Saturday after this video goes out. So if that's a thing that interests you, keep an eye out for that. And once again, just thank you very much for watching. It means a lot to me. All right, take care and goodbye.